Okay, thank you. Today, I want to share a few insights on how we approach the big topic of customer experience at internet stores. Before I start my presentation, let me first give you a quick overview of internet stores. Internet stores is basically the leading digital retailer for bike and outdoor products in Europe. And with our products, we bring more people on bikes than any other supplier in Europe. In 14 countries, we operate 40 online shops, among them brands like Fahrrad.de, Bikester, Pro Bike Shop, Camps, and AdNature. We feature more than 1,000 brands and 125,000 products, which we ship from 6 international logistics hubs. We push a multi-channel strategy, which comprises home delivery, store delivery, and mobile service. Besides our own retail stores, we have a network of more than 200 service partners for Fahrrad.de in Germany. Internet Stores is also part of Signa Sports United Group and employs more than 800 people at various locations across Europe. My own journey at Internet Stores started basically back in 2013. After studying in Munich and starting my career in consulting, working on several projects in Europe and also the US, I joined Internet Stores. And I started at that time as a CRM manager to establish a topic of CRM in the company and build up a team for the topic of CRM. My team basically became bigger and bigger and developed into different directions, ranging from campaigning up to data analytics. And yeah, since that time, I took over various responsibilities for different topics, always in the marketing and sales space. Then in 2019, I became MD and also part of the management board at Internet Stores. All right, so now let me share a few insights regarding our journey at Internet Stores in general and also how we approached at that time and how we are going to approach the topic of customer experience in the future. First, let me give you a brief overview on the different phases we went through with the company and also with the topic of customer experience. Back in the times there, we can say it was e-commerce 1.0. We were kind of in startup mode, and that was back in the year starting in the year 2000. Functionalities at that time were added to the setup basically more or less in an ad hoc mode. What seemed reasonable was simply added. And yeah, at that time, no one really talked about customer experience. Then there was a phase that was also really supported by strong funding, where the company still was quite small and saw tremendous growth. This phase began around 2010, and the focus at that time was for customer experience was on ensuring that all basic stuff was stable and it was easily possible to scale and quickly enter into new markets. The next phase then started basically a few years ago, and where we were pursuing and also achieving market leadership. It became important to even more consistently grow over time and make the step towards a really large enterprise. And with the aspiration to be and to remain a market leader, the topic of customer experience became more and more important. Decisions to scale are being made very consciously, and we are approaching the topic of customer experience now in a very systematic way. In my opinion, and also that's the opinion of many people in the company, and this is super obvious, offering the best customer experience will be one of the major keys to future success for internet stores. And this is now the point where I want to share some interesting insights. How do we approach this big topic of customer experience? We've put much focus on customer experience already in the past, but really last year we started to pursue the topic in a very structured and very focused way. We created touchpoint maps and showing all our major touchpoints across all channels and customer groups. We also defined so-called customer experience potential matrices, and this really helped us to determine performance and importance of our main touchpoints. And finally, all that efforts led to a roadmap for all our customer experience efforts. So what exactly was it that we did to gain an overview and to gain more insights regarding our touchpoints and customer experience? As I already said, the first step was really to map all the touchpoints to gain this overview and to create this compelling touchpoint landscape. We then went on to define the specific customer needs, expected performance levels, and also responsibilities for each and every touchpoint. This very exercise provided us with a template to work on our customer journeys and touchpoints in a very structured way. It was also possible then to plan new touchpoints and to integrate them properly, as you know what's going on left and right. The next really major step was then to bring all these map touchpoints into a so-called customer experience potential matrix. And in order to identify touchpoints with the highest potential for optimization from a customer perspective, we needed to collect and aggregate data for basically 2 dimensions. One was importance and the other one was potential for improvement. The topic of importance is mainly determined by contact volume and frequency, meaning how many users or customers interact with us at this specific touchpoint and how often do they do it. The measured contact volume was then, of course, also weighted based on the position of the specific touchpoint within the funnel, meaning that touchpoints that are closer to conversion are considered more important than vice versa. And the other dimension, potential for improvement, is fed by various sources. Basically, all Net Promoter Score data that is available, all available web analytics data, and all surveys that we have for different touchpoints. So basically bringing everything together into one place, we are able to see our touchpoints categorized then into different clusters. If we look, for example, at the ones in the upper right, we find our so-called high priority touchpoints, the ones that are both very important from a customer's perspective and offering also quite some potential for improvement. We should, if we think about measures, definitely start here. And next ones would, of course, be in the upper left corner, still high potential for improvement, but not as much importance as the ones on the right. And yeah, by meaningfully consolidating all your data into such matrices, you can easily align on priorities when optimizing your touchpoints. This is really the perfect starting point to then create a sound roadmap for improving your customer experience across the organization. And yeah, this can be done for different customer segments and different phases within your customer lifecycle. And this way, for every phase and segment, you create a detailed picture on your priorities. Usually, this kind of exercise is used for optimizing mainly existing touch points, but it can, of course, also be used to prioritize implementation of missing touch points or touch point gaps. Okay, so what did we learn on the way, and what can I or what would I recommend for these kind of initiatives in general? First of all, though you might face a lot of complexity, just get started at some point. And also quite obvious, but I have to say it, don't get stuck with ownership discussions. It is quite normal that these kinds of debates start. But first gain an overview on your touchpoints and touchpoint landscape, then talk about ownership in a second step. Otherwise, you mix things up. Also obvious, but super important, give highest attention to the topic. Also, C-level attention is necessary and is very, very important to push the topic in the organization. And yeah, last but not least, I have to say that as well, customer experience is not a project that ends at some point. It's an attitude that needs to be cultivated over time across the whole organization. That was in a nutshell how we approach customer experience, the big topic of customer experience. And I do hope that you could pick up some ideas and inspiration. And thank you very much for your attention.